I'm embarrassed. Because I have built an entire social media presence and speaking career just based on the fact of building communities. Where I've built some of the largest and most impactful communities in the world. I have built them in multiple languages. I have built communities where people have different faiths. I've helped countless others do the exact same thing. Where Fortune 500 companies have brought me in to seek advice, and where community leaders have jumped on calls with me, searching for a reason to keep going. I'm embarrassed, y'all. I'm embarrassed because is it a ridiculous idea for someone to want to build a community where people can find people that are like-minded, people that they want to associate themselves with, people that are having similar problems or maybe have similar solutions? Is it ridiculous for them to want to put that effort into an area where they can serve others? But they feel like they're screaming into a void, it's not working out the way that they want, and they can't necessarily figure out where the magic sauce is. And so for me, some of y'all may know who I am, the reason why I got into tech was because of a rapper. The reason why I stayed in tech was because of the community. And the reason why I thrived in tech were because of the members of the communities I was a part of. That changed the entire trajectory of my life. It's not just, it was cool to go to a meetup, it was cool to learn something new, it was cool to see this talk. It changed everything for me. And so I kind of want to share some of that magic sauce with you. To give you an idea, I'm now located in Dallas, Texas. Previously, before that, I was in Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee is not a tech town, right? We do barbecue, we got that going for us, but it's not a tech town. And when I'd go to meetups, great people leading them, but I'd see it's like the same 5 or 6 people, same 5 or 6 people in the room. When I walked in the room, especially at that time when I'm trying to break into tech, I was intimidated by the wealth of knowledge in the room, and I didn't necessarily know how to approach it. But over time, I became so addicted to it. And one thing that I kind of noticed was there's all these amazing ideas and no one to share it with because no one's really coming, they're not really entertaining it. Some developers don't necessarily know how to market their meetups in the right way. But one thing that I really saw that I still to this day believe is a gaping hole inside of communities is the people that go to the meetup don't necessarily realize that they're a part of the community or they're a community leader. Because to me, if you're interacting, you're networking, and you're talking with others at the meetup, you're leading in a sense, right? You could easily be a fly on the wall, hide in the corner, and walk out. But if you're engaging with that community, you're part of that community, you're actively building that community. It's a community that developers are building. And so I want to kind of help that a little bit more. I want to kind of share some of this with you, right? And so I've jotted down some points. And to kind of give you an idea, when I joined in Memphis, that's when I started leading community groups, meetups, conferences, events, and things like that. Started out with 5 or 6 people in a room. I ended up creating some of the largest meetups in the entire history of Memphis, Tennessee. We had groups with, some meetups with in-person pre-pandemic, it was like 350 people in a meetup, right? To give you an idea now, in Dallas, Texas, I moved to Dallas, Texas, and I knew no one, which actually I'm not gonna lie, it put some fear in me because I went from Memphis where I had all these connections. If something bad happened, I knew I had an opportunity with a couple phone calls. Now I'm in a city where nobody knows my name. The second day I was there, I was at a meetup. Clothes still in boxes and all that, I was at the meetup. And it's because you can make so many great connections there, you can learn so much, and on top of that, you're getting tapped into the local ecosystem. And so to me, I think that's extremely valuable in the long term. And so from there, from Dallas, we started a group, we call it Dallas Software Developers Group. We do technical sessions online, in person, we do events, conferences, we do cohorts that are completely free for the community, all that good stuff, supporting the community in whatever way, shape that we can. And for us, one of our last meetups that we did a theme that's called A Night Of. It's like my take on a mini tech conference where we can get 5 or 6 speakers all doing lightning talks, right? So it's a night of blank. Our last one was a night of Java, right? And we had around 220 people show up, which is fantastic. We had 180 online, which is fantastic. And when you download the chat records of the online meetups, they're 40 pages, 50 pages, because people are talking nonstop on the online chat because they're enjoying it so much, right? And out of the people that were there, probably 100 of them have never touched a line of Java a day in their life. But they were there because their community was there. They weren't there because the meetup subject is what brought them there. They were there because they knew, hey, my buddy's gonna be there, my friend is gonna be there, someone's gonna be there that I know that I'm a part of, the community that I'm a part of is gonna be there. So how does that happen? How does that work? What do we do? So I'm gonna give you a couple major tips. Some things, if you are a community leader, you can use this. If you go to a community, maybe share this with them because they could definitely get some insight off of this. But some of these tips as well, I think, are gonna help you in meetings at work. I think it's gonna help you when you're just even hanging out with friends. Some of this is really applicable, but sometimes we don't really put it together. So for me, the biggest purpose of a meetup shouldn't be the meetup subject. If you are simply going to a meetup because of the meetup subject, you're not attached to that community. And if you're a community leader and you say, well, when I do this one subject, people come, more people will show up. If I do this other subject, it drops off dramatically, so I wanna avoid that. Number one, I think you need to feed the need of the community. So if you're in an area where, let's say Java is king, and you're like, these PHP meetups, they're gonna hit, that's not gonna work. You need to feed the need of the community. But what do? So many times I'll go to a meetup, and the first thing that they do is like, all right, everybody sit down, grab some slices of pizza, we're gonna get started, which is great, but as soon as we get right into the technical session, I have no invested time here, I'm gone, right? I believe the formula for this should be connect, educate, network. Meaning, the first thing that you do isn't necessarily diving straight into the technical sessions. You need to create an incentive for someone to be there and come back. Remember, the way that I kind of look at it is, hours are very expensive in the day, regardless of where your financial income may be or your position in life. Hours are expensive. I try to honor that hour or 2 hours that you're giving me by showing up. And I need to make sure it was worth your effort, your drive, your gas money, the time away from the family, the Netflix show you could be watching, the Hulu drama that you could be looking at. I'm competing with all that, so I need to make it worth it for you, right? Otherwise, you might come like once a year. And so for me, I need you to connect first, right? The earlier you connect inside that meetup, you have a stronger vested interest of actually being there. And that's not necessarily even a meetup, it's a meeting. It's an online event. How can I get you to invest early on by speaking, by being a part of it, by connecting with somebody? But this shouldn't be like an extended network session. It should be connect with purpose, so that way when you go to network afterwards, you've made an entire pipeline easier for people to connect. So to give you an idea, I may have everybody in the room, and I'm like, hey, can somebody tell me something that they're really good at? Like, it doesn't have to be technical, but what is one thing that you know so much about that you can talk about it? And I remember this one specifically that's coming to my mind right now. I did this in an online event, and this guy said, I know a lot about cheese. I'm like, that's such a crazy thing. Please unmute yourself and what do you know about cheese that makes you like a cheeseologist? And he spent 3 minutes talking about cheese, and the whole room started like, you know what? I have been sticking to American cheese for too long. I do need to venture out into this Munster territory or mozzarella, but it got everybody talking and connecting. Guess what happened in the networking time? Everybody's talking to this person about cheese, which is crazy, but it's a great icebreaker and opener. It feels less pressure, but because everyone's already interacted a little bit, there's no pain point to get into networking with each other. And so after that technical session, which was an hour long, what are people talking about? Hey man, that cheese. That's a great way to start building relationships, right? The technical subject isn't why we are meeting, it's the thing that we are experiencing together as a byproduct of us meeting. That's the focus. So if I'm going to an Android meetup and they're telling me something about Android, that shouldn't be the purpose of why I showed up, because I could watch a YouTube tutorial. Half the speakers that go out there, their stuff is already online. I could just look at one of those talks. So it's like, what are you doing that's a little different? So obviously the connection, I think, early on, and the networking afterwards gives that community aspect. They come back again and again and again. So if you're planning a meetup, and let's say you're giving it an hour and a half time, I try to stay around that, give or take, because I try to think about the average time of going to the movies, right? Hour and a half, 2 hours. When you do these 4 or 5 hour meetups, that's a big commitment. Keep it nice, tight, organized, reusable. People can come back and enjoy it again and again and again. So to give you an idea, in Dallas, Texas right now, we do 2 meetups a month, every single month because of demand, and we're talking about doing a 3rd one online just so we can keep feeding the people that want to keep going to these educational events. We're gonna get started in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, we're gonna get started. So everybody just hang out 5 minutes, we're gonna get started. 4 minutes, people, traffic's a little bit. Don't punish the punctual and reward the late. How many of y'all do that? How many of y'all have seen that? Or how many of y'all have experienced that? Show a hand. Hell yeah. So am I allowed to say that? Hell yeah. It happens all the time. That's a work meeting situation. So what you've told me is, because I left 20 minutes early to make sure I wasn't 10 minutes late, I'm now punished for being responsible. So the incentive now is to come later. Because if I come later, I know my time will be honored. Why do I have to rush out of here? I knew there was going to be traffic on the highway. I left early. I knew that I was going to go bumper to bumper. I knew I had to get gas on the way there. I left early. And Joe over here left late because he's like, I know they're going to wait. So why am I punished? Why am I disregarded? Why am I less than? So to give you an idea, our meetup started at 6:30. Activities start at 6:25. There's a bigger incentive now to show up early because when you get there early, you're being a part of everything. You're active in there. You feel more enticed and incentivized to be there. I do the same thing at work meetings. No one is waiting at a work meeting. If you are there, that means we got time on the calendar. We're both honoring it. We're getting started right away. If you showed up 2 minutes early, why do I have to make you wait? Hey, calendar said 7. It's 6:58. Just chill out for a couple minutes. No. Let's start working now. Whoever comes in, they can get filled in. Or they can look at the notes because our time is valuable because we were both here. Stop punishing the punctual. This one is a big one. The unwritten law of community is your needs are second and the needs of the community are first. Because if you have selfish needs and they know it, they won't do you a favor by coming there. And this is one that I speak to a lot with companies because they're like, we need to build a community on X, Y, Z, and it's going to support our product. And so let's just throw a bunch of money at it. You can't throw money at a community. You can throw it at me. I'll take it. But you can't throw it at a community. That's not going to change anything. Where's the incentive for people to go? I remember that I was working with a group one time where they were throwing money at the meetup organizers to give giveaway prizes. You know how many people showed up extra for those giveaway prizes? 0. They're like, oh, that's cool. That wasn't why they were there. And then at the end, they're like, oh, yeah, there's that giveaway prize thing that we're doing. That's not the incentive to show up and drive there. Heck, if that's the case, the prize was pretty much worth a tank of gas. I could go buy it at Best Buy myself. What's the difference? This is a big one for me. This is one that it took me a while to learn. If you make a friend at a meetup, that is a meetup that you're returning to every single time. Because number one, now you know your friends are there. Number two, in my opinion, you feel safer there. And so by creating those connections for people, I think it goes a long way. So for example, if you create, I believe in balancing energies, right? So I try to be like an extrovert for the introvert and an introvert for the extrovert. Because that opposite energy sometimes levels people out to the point where they feel really connected and welcomed. And so if you see somebody hiding out in the corner, as a meetup organizer, as a community leader, I try to go up to them. Hey, I've met somebody, and this kind of goes into the next thing. If y'all go to a meetup that has name tags, I'll keep handing this mic, my bad, man. If you go to a meetup that has name tags, a lot of people will just write their name. For us, I tell them, write your name in your tech stack. So now if I see, oh, you work in Java and he works in Java, y'all need to connect, man. Y'all, what was the last problem you solved? Boom. Now they're becoming buddies. Or, and I'll be honest, I'm the king of random prompts. So I'll say something like, hey, what was the last time you broke prod? What happened? Write it on there. So now that's a conversation started on its own. Or what was the last time when you tried to do something with CSS, you completely broke it? What did you learn from that? They'll write it on there. So all this starts creating organic conversations. And the other thing that I do, I sometimes create these cards, and I'll hand it out saying, your mission at this meetup is to use this card with everybody there. And so doing so, it creates that organic thing hey, I got to say this to you real fast. What was a time where you were in a meeting and you completely forgot what you were supposed to say? Or when was a time you were at All Things Open on stage and you forgot your next point? That's a great conversation starter, right? And so stuff like that goes a long way. So I truly believe this. It takes a lifetime to become a great community leader. You don't automatically become a great leader. It's not like a flip of the switch. And you don't remain a good leader without reflection and learning to grow with the needs of the community. Maybe you're great for 10 members, but 20 is scary. Or maybe you thrive with 20, but you barely survive with 100. So these are things to think about as you're scaling, growing, and creating better events. Start taking some reflection. And I'll be honest with you, I know I'm at time. I know I'm at time. But the thing that I really hope, if you could walk away with anything, I have never met anybody that has attained a great level of success in any area of the field or their life, that has never felt alone, never felt a moment of doubt, never felt insecure about something, community is a fantastic way to find support when you need it. If there is a way that I can ever support or our communities can ever support, I'm all there for it. I've created meetup communities now where the sole focus was junior software developers, trying to help them get jobs in tech. I still do that. I love that. I love that. We don't monetize it. We have a cohort program we don't monetize, where we put them on teams where they build projects, and they're being guided by a professional software developer in the industry. We had so many people land jobs out of that, right? I love that stuff. I live for that. This field changed my life. It's a generational shift, even from my child. My kid is 11, and he's at a better financial position in life and starting point in life than I was at the age of 25, right? And then I have other events that I do where right now, I'll tell you right now, I'm building an entire community of CEOs and CTOs of major organizations of like Fortune 50s and Fortune 500s where they're showing up to events. It doesn't matter. Even the last event we did, we were kind of saying like, we think like the wealth in the room is worth around $100 million, and they're making great decisions, and the value from those conversations, like, I'm taking notes. It took me 4,000 emails to get 30 of them in a room. 4,000 emails to get 30 of them in a room, and I'm just taking notes. I absorbed so much, I learned so much there. And so when it comes to technical problems, and for those that don't know, I'm a director of technology. I forgot to say that early on. My name is Thompson, in case you don't know who I am. Director of technology at a company called This.Labs. We have, on one side, a tech consultancy where we solve some of the most interesting problems in tech. We work like Google, Microsoft, Wikipedia, et cetera. And then on the other side, we have our media arm where we have some of the best podcasts out there, in my opinion, some really great technical content that can help you grow as a developer. And then we support other groups as well. We support other workshops and events. So please check out anything from This.Labs or This.Media. But I've never seen anyone not have a moment of doubt. And for me, community was a great way to support that. And I love being in the room or around communities and people that developers can support and build. Right now, we are in a room that is massive, with incredible minds and people, and this is a room, all things open, that a community built. Thank you.